Hey, good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here. It is now Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024. Good to be here with you. I was hoping to do this yesterday because I've got a major announcement. Yes, we got to talk about some hurricane season stuff. I know a lot of people are triggered about that and highly anticipated season coming up. But in addition to that, another major announcement separate from the hurricane season stuff that I am very excited about. I was going to do this yesterday, but I've had this head cold, and I'm going to tell you what, you talk about annoying. Yes, it was a 10 out of 10 annoying. Not serious, like, oh, I'm deathly ill, like save Ferris Bueller type stuff. No, it was just annoying. But I feel pretty good today. The sun is out, 70 degrees plus here in Wilmington, North Carolina. So let's do it, all right? Got a lot to talk about with you. Hurricane season is coming. I know a lot of people have seen the data that's coming out. Let's try to interpret it and see what we see. So let's start out, all that being the case, with a look back. 4 years ago to yesterday, because these maps are always a day behind, so the one from 2024 only goes out to March 4th, you understand? So this is what it looked like 4 years ago, the last normal week that any of us would have, I guess, and then we all switched over to the black mirror, permanently, basically. But this is what it looked like 4 years ago in the Atlantic. All right, and I bring this up because it was pretty warm overall, as you can see, in the Atlantic. My telestrator is being kind of goofy today, sorry. Maybe it has a head cold too. We were starting to develop the La Nina of 2020, but the Atlantic Basin was pretty warm overall, and we ended up with 30 named storms in 2020. And that's my point. This, in March, ended up giving us later, because everything held and whatever, you understand, we had a 30 name storm season with this kind of a look in March. So here's what it looks like today, basically 4 years later. I mean, we're not even in the same league. All right, if that gave us 30 name storms, what on earth is this going to do? We are just now starting to see the signs of the La Nina starting to come on. Upwelling will start to occur all through this area. Yeah, my telestrator is being really goofy today, so we'll just not do it too much. But yeah, this is quite the look. Well above average, record warm Atlantic temperatures. You know, we can't deny this. It is definitely a pattern that we need to pay attention to. And as I go forward, we'll start discussing this and unpacking it for you, all right? So a few little tweets here that will kind of present the evidence to you, because I want you to take this very seriously. This is not fear-mongering. This is not likes, shares, and views. No, this is facts from the scientific community that you need to be paying attention to. What can you do about it? We're going to talk about that more starting in April. I want another month just to see how things are going. And then we will be within about 60 days before hurricane season starts, and we can begin discussing how do you plan for something. And I think that's going to be very important because you have to plan. You can't just do a bunch of hoping, right? A good friend of mine in emergency management has an expression that hope is not a planning tool. You cannot just hope that everything will be okay, and then that's your plan. So all of this data is very important in setting that background. You understand? So let's see what we've got. So this is from my good friend Dylan, and he mentioned this the other day based on the CANSIPS data. That's the Canadian version of these long-range models, right? So he's referring to this tweet here from Andy Hazelton, a researcher down at HRD in Florida, Hurricane Research Division, among other disciplines and whatnot that he works in down there as a research scientist. So these are not just from, any Joe Schmo that's just trying to get attention. This is important stuff. And Andy's talking about the data from the CANSIPS that an even warmer Atlantic and cooler INSO, in other words, a stronger La Nina. Very favorable setup for the Atlantic Basin. You can see this, that the focus of the warmth, according to the Canadian long-range guidance, is deep in the tropics with that horseshoe look. It kind of goes all the way around. Cooler in the subtropics, focusing the energy and the upward motion, the lower pressures, the convergence, all that stuff that we look for right where we would expect it in a very busy season. Today, and overnight last night into today, we got new data from the ECMWF. Everybody calls this King Euro. You have your operational, you've got your ensembles, you've got your seasonal stuff. The euro here, this tweet from Phil Klotzbach, the guidance goes through September, and through September the euro is already suggesting 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and an ACE. That's the quality, the accumulated cyclone energy, 170% of normal, and we're not even into October or November in the model guidance here. And it too, in the profile, showing a coolish look, the La Nina in the Pacific, with the warmth focused in the deep tropics, a cool subtropics. That's the fingerprint. When you look for a busy season, that's what you look for. And it reminds you, that's what gave us 30 named storms. We are well ahead of that. Well ahead of it. It's not even close. Seriously. I mean, just wow. So very interesting stuff coming out in the recent days. Furthermore, from Andy, again, he's talking about the ECMWF, active looking Atlantic with a positive precipitation anomaly pattern, especially focused in the Caribbean region. A very La Nina look. See, these people know what to look for. And that's why we follow them. They know what to look for. So I'm going to highlight it in red. That's the precipitation anomaly focused around land masses. This is not all up here, out to sea. That's what the models were showing for last year, generally. And that's pretty much what happened, with a couple of exceptions. Idalia was one of them. This is much more of a concern for landfalls, because this also implies a pretty robust Atlantic Azores, the Atlantic subtropical ridge, the Bermuda Azores high. It's not like everything's going to head over here. Something's going to certainly escape out to sea, and we probably will have some northern latitude developments as well. But a majority of the deep tropical stuff down here near land masses, the Antilles, lesser and greater, all the way into the Gulf of Mexico and vicinity, Central America as well. And then also, what do you notice? A dry equatorial Pacific, and not a very active look. A little bit. You're going to still have a season in the East Pac, but not dominating. So the Atlantic Basin should take over and be very productive this year. So this is really important because it's undeniable. Again, this is data. It is coming out. It is not agenda driven. If anybody's using it for an agenda, well, that's their thing. The raw data itself is not based on somebody trying to push an agenda. That's very important to understand, and it's a bummer that I even have to say that. But it is factual. Just like if you go and see your doctor, you get a checkup or whatever the case may be, and they say, hey, look, there's a few things that we've noticed on a scan or a test or whatever. It's just what it is, and you have to take what the doctor says and hopefully do something about it, whatever the case may be. It's supposed to be helpful in the end, even if it's bad news. You can take action, and again, we're going to really start to talk about that. And I want to do some really kind of fun stuff, so to speak, like open this up, get it on YouTube, do some live stuff on Twitter, maybe something on Spaces, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, reach people where they are. Let's talk about things, questions people have. How do you deal with this? What do you do about generators? What about elderly? What about children? What about people with special needs? What about pets? Everything. Let's just not look at this and say, well, it's over. We had a good run. We're all doomed. I look at it as a gift, and I have said this many times in my career. We have the science. Let's trust it and do something with it. Seriously. Not just put it up there in a scary thumbnail and, oh, it's the end times, and that's it. That's not helpful. I don't want people following me for that. I want people to follow, okay, we knew it could be coming. What can we do about it? And then what we have done here at HurricaneTrack since 1999, we will actually take you into it and show you these impacts live like nobody else on earth can. And I'm very proud of that, by the way. So, when it's coming, you want us there. Like when Jack Nicholson said that in A Few Good Men. You want me on that wall. All right, moving on ahead. Yes, there's a lot to talk about for hurricane season, but that's it for today. That's enough for now. New guidance came out. See what it does. Revisit it again in early April. By that time, we will also start to get a lot of these ensemble products. By the way, Ben Knoll will put some of these things out, the super ensembles. You'll get a UK Met, European CanSips blend or whatever. Like, it's just incredible graphics And April really starts to sort of lock things in more so. March is like your pretty big warning shot. April, once we got to April of 2020, we pretty much knew it was going to be a blockbuster season based on the pattern. And the science has just gotten even better in those 4 years. All right? So, speaking of science, John Hominuk, very, very well respected in his field. I have watched some of his videos as of late. It's like, where's this guy been all of my severe weather life? I have studied severe weather. I'm more of a hurricane person, as you know. That's why we are HurricaneTrack. But part of this leads into my big announcement. As we do with hurricane season, we look at patterns for severe weather season. And this matters not just for the thousands of storm chasers that are going to go out there, and the thousands more that are going to probably be coming, especially next year after Twisters comes out in July. But it's a very serious thing. It affects agriculture, commerce, wind farms, solar, you name it. It is a big business. There should be a documentary called Big Weather. Somebody's probably going to steal that idea from me right here and there, aren't you? But it's important, and we can see these patterns, just like we see it for hurricanes and the overall pattern. The same thing can be seen for severe weather. And John has done some of these videos. One of them was an outlook for the upcoming season. And the general consensus, just like we have with hurricane stuff, most of the people that follow the severe weather scene very seriously are in agreement that April and May especially, we should have one of the busiest severe weather seasons in the traditional areas of Tornado Alley than we have seen in quite a while. And that blends perfectly into what I want to talk about next. Now, a little backstory. Since 2021, our team here has made a concerted effort to do a little bit more out in Tornado Alley each year. A lot of it is testing. We use the background of severe weather to test equipment for the upcoming hurricane season. I look at it as kind of like spring training, almost verbatim, because it is in the spring, right? It works. But also because I am a weather geek at heart, it is amazing to see these supercells, the hailstones, the threat of tornadoes, the whole culture of chasers out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I guess it's all of the above sometimes. It is fascinating. It really is. The people, as a geographer, as a physical geographer, remember, that's what my degree is in, with an emphasis on weather and climate. So that's what I like to see, is the landscape and the way the weather affects it, the people, places, and things. But I've always wondered, like, what could I contribute to the science of severe weather? Yeah, I could phone in a report, post a cool picture or a time-lapse on Twitter or whatever. Great. But what about contributing to science, where I do something that matters? That's really hard to do in the severe weather world. There are people working on it, obviously, but that's you gotta put a lot of money, a lot of effort into that if you really want to crack some area that's really not being done. And then it occurred to me after one of our chases, me and this guy CJ, who snapped this picture, that's a hail core in Kim, Colorado, close to it. Last year, CJ Morgan was with me, and we have to avoid these, right? Most people do, that when they're out there, especially if you're in a rental. And, it's getting close. You see it on a radar scope, and you can see that blue. And by the way, that's exactly what it looked like. This is not filtered or whatever. That's literally what it looked like. It's stunning. It really is. And that's produced the way the light scatters through the hailstones, and you get this amazing color. I mean, they even talked about it in the original Twister, and he said greenage, remember? It's a thing. And so we have to avoid these. You get a huge claim on your rental vehicle, right? And they come from supercells, generally. And hail can come from non-supercell thunderstorms, but most supercells create hail. Here's a supercell. This is a beautiful one at the Texas-New Mexico border area last year. And so we were done with one of these chase days, testing some equipment. We were testing our Starlink last year and just getting ready for hurricane season. And he showed me a picture on his phone, CJ did, of a huge hailstone that somebody had run across after a hailer went through, as they call it. And I was like, golly, man, wouldn't it be neat if we could figure out a way to observe and study hail up close and personal? And I was like, wait a minute, why don't we? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, let's do it. So long story short, from that moment on, it was like May or June, to now, I am very excited to announce the newest project from the HurricaneTrack family, us, the Hail Project. Simple name, and yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do for hail what we have done for hurricanes. But unlike hurricanes, where we set up cameras because we could be killed by the impact, like I can't film 12 feet of storm surge from the surge, or I will be drowned. You think about my Michael video, the Adalia stuff from last year. You just can't do it in most cases. Some people try, but you know what I mean, like the point-blank range stuff, those remote cams, just like that one right there, that's what those are for. Well, you really can't do that with hail. You got to go to that. You got to drive up under one of those or let it come to you. You got to get up under that hail core that's underneath one of those supercells. But you also have to have a way to protect the vehicle. So that's what we're going to do. The Hail Project officially announced today, and its goal will be that over the next several years, we are going to observe first and then study hail in any type situation we can, mainly starting in the Central Plains, the Front Range of the Rockies, that area. And we're going to do so using, wait for it, a Toyota Tacoma that is going to be specially retrofitted with basically what I refer to as a hail shark cage. Now, a lot of the chasers have these hail guards and it keeps their windshields intact. Ours will be a lot larger, and I don't have a picture of it yet because we're still working on it. But the idea is to protect the vehicle from most of the hail impacts, but this apparatus that will sit on top will also serve, and this is where I'm very excited, as a platform, if you will, a literal platform to mount experiments. I want to study hail with different fluids, different solids, different measuring methods, using high-speed photography, using regular GoPro video, subjecting different household items, car windshields, hoods. We're going to start soliciting our audience to suggest or even send something that we can mount on top of this. And once we get it done in a couple of weeks here, I'll show you a picture of what I'm talking about. It is brilliant. And we're going to use cameras to do it, but not remotely necessarily. We still have to drive the Tacoma to where the hail core is going to be. The hail core comes over 1 inch, 2 inches, 5 inches, doesn't matter, and we will record using a multitude of GoPro cameras in different experiments. Like I said, we're going to do stuff like measure temperatures of hail, the cataloging, and the brilliant thing is all you need is your iPhone and make sure there's available storage, right? Pictures, cataloging, notes, geotagging information, a Yeti cooler up there to collect hailstones. Maybe we find a nice big one. We're going to have some experiments that I'll talk about later. Some of them are pretty cool. I want to kind of keep it on the lowdown because they are awesome, that I believe will get a lot of people excited to learn more about this fairly sort of not much talked about phenomenon. Tornadoes get so much attention, yet hail causes billions of dollars. Yes, B and S, not B. You know what I mean? Billions plural. And it's not BS, it's true. Billions of dollars of damage. There are entire industries, roofing, dent repair, the cattle industry, the solar industry, the wind farm industry, the ag industry. I told John about this, John Hominick, on a private message, and he seemed to be very excited. We're just getting started. Just like with the hurricane stuff, it took a few years to, maybe even a couple decades, to really make a name for myself. I think the technology will allow us to advance a little faster than I did for hurricanes, but I want to do for hail very similarly what I've done for hurricanes, where we know more about this phenomenon because we're studying it up close and personal on a consistent basis. And I know there's other projects. The IBHS has one. There's different universities. NSSL has hail projects. I get it. I just feel like this could help to at least raise awareness, and we can have a lot of fun with it at the same time, because mostly, unlike tornadoes and hurricanes, which can be lethal any given day that they happen, pretty much unless you are just not all there, hail doesn't kill you. It does kill livestock and whatnot, yes, but there's a little bit more room for the fun side of science. So we're going to do a lot of science, and then we're going to do a lot of fun and really make this an interesting project over the coming years, all right? We'll stream it live on YouTube when we're out and about. We will have incredible videos. I'll talk about it more later in terms of what the plan of procedure is, but that's the general idea. And I want you to come with us and watch it as it happens. We're going to have little contests like, what do you think is the biggest hailstone we're going to find today? We're going to work with some great people in the business. Severe weather. Greg Nordstrom, arguably, from Mississippi State, arguably one of the best severe forecasters out there. He is fantastic with severe weather. Great at winter, great at hurricanes, phenomenal at severe weather. So he's going to accompany me, and we're going to work with some just incredible people across the board this year, our inaugural year, and then the coming years. And then the results will be, hopefully, some unexpected results. That's what's so neat about science. We might learn something that we didn't even know about. So stay tuned. The Hail Project is coming. All right? So a couple more things before I let you go. Don't forget, hadn't mentioned this a lot because, well, we're kind of in the off season, but I'm going to mention it more. We are on Patreon. You can sign up for free. You can sign up and become an investor, and you can get access to some amazing insider kind of stuff, and it helps to support what we do financially. Still about 500 strong on the financial side. We really appreciate that. That's helping to fund a lot of this. It's very expensive. And I wanted to show you this, especially if you're on our Patreon and you haven't visited the Insider site in a while. Check this out. This is a small version of it. But up here, I'll click on the interactive map. Our good friend over in the UK, Will Woodgate, what is that? If you know, you know. I couldn't believe that he did this. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That, my friends, is the path of totality for the upcoming eclipse on April the 8th. And I'm not going to give away where I'm going to be yet. I will tell you it's going to be somewhere near San Antonio. But yeah, if you're one of our members, do log in if you haven't logged in a while. Find out where you are. Hey, you're going to be in Mazatlan? You're in luck, all the way up through these different areas of Mexico, into southwest parts of Texas, all the way up into the Dallas area and beyond. And then a couple people that I have met up here in the Buffalo area after that big lake effect. Cheektowaga, Bill, you guys are in for it up there. I'll have to send this video to Bill today. Met him during a big lake effect event. We got a camera still up there that I left with Bill. I'll have to have him stream and show what the eclipse looks like when it moves over. Hopefully it won't be cloudy. But yeah, really neat. Tracking the eclipse totality path. That's what it's going to look like. And then these are our permanent cameras that we have set up around North America. We're not quite Earth Cam yet, but yeah, we're doing all right. And so there you go. That's one of the things that you get if you become one of our supporters, an investor, and help what we do through Patreon. One of the many perks that you can get there, all right? And of course, we're on Twitter, and I know it's called something else, but to me, it's always Twitter. And on YouTube, subscribe and whatever the notification thing, so when we go live, look, when we drive into one of these, well, I'm not driving into it. We're going to drive. It'll come over us. No driving in the hail core. You got to watch that live because it's going to be like, wow. And just the fact that we're going to be able to do it and not have to worry is, I'm a little nervous because, we, like I said, we have to usually avoid them. But anyway, if you want to watch it live, you go to YouTube, you subscribe to our channel, you hit the subscribe and the notification, and then boom, when we're live, you'll be notified, all right? All right. So I want to show you one more thing. I almost forgot. This is really cool. I got our kids do these races called Spartan races. It's like an endurance thing, right? I call it boot camp that you pay for. And they've got these shirts that say Spartan. It's got the little Spartan helmet. For those of you that know the Spartan races, you know what I'm talking about. And my kids just did one a couple weeks ago, and I was looking at the shirt, and I was like, I like that design. And I sent a picture of it to one of our back-end team members, this guy Tim, and I wanted to show you. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I love that. It's in the same look as the Spartan shirt. It says Spartan, and it's got the helmet thing. And I was like, hey, Tim, let's do the HurricaneTrack logo, and then sort of that, whatever the font is, where it looks like it's kind of broken or whatever. and it looks really cool. So we're going to make these available on our spring site probably in April as we get ready for a new round of merchandise as well. Get you some brand new Hurricane Track swag. All right, anyway, that's coming up. I just wanted to show you our new t-shirt design. And Tim, Mr. Melman, it worked out great. Thank you, sir. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day, a good rest of your week. I'll keep getting better. Hey, I'm already sounding better already. I'm on the mend. It's awesome. Spring is in the air. I am Mark Suttoth. From all of us at Hurricane Track, myself included, we appreciate you tuning in. I'll talk to you again next Monday.